Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. I have a guest from Texas that I'm looking forward to talking to. Please repost the stream. For those of you that are joining on YouTube and Rumble, thank you for joining us tonight. If you have any questions for Jessi tonight, please leave them in the comments and I will put them on the stage. I appreciate everybody that supports. So tonight we're talking to Jessi Cowart, who is in District 15 in Texas, running for State House in Texas as a Libertarian candidate. We just had the primary elections in Texas, and voters, kind of sent a clear message about how they feel about the way things are going in Texas. Especially with the Ken Paxton, John Cornyn, election, with Ken Paxton resoundingly winning that race and now being the Republican nominee. But the thing is Texas is kind of interesting. We've seen a lot of different shifts, and we've seen kind of some conflict within the Texas House and with the Republican majority and the things that have been happening there. And so this next election is going to be huge in terms of how that looks moving forward, and also with the redistricting in Texas is one of the big issues. But anyways, we have a fantastic candidate that's running in South Texas. Her district runs from the border, Hidalgo County, all the way up to San Antonio. So a border, district. So obviously, the border is going to be one of the big issues within that area. And also just reading, some of the key voter issues within her area, taxes, affordability, same things we're seeing in a lot of different places, same things that we saw here in Georgia. But without further ado, I'm going to bring up Jessi to the stage. Welcome. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming tonight. I've paid close attention to the races in Texas, not necessarily the state house races so much as the federal positions have been something of a concern to a lot of us because I think what people are realizing in those races is that it affects us all. Like what happens in Texas, what happens in Georgia, what happens in all these different states, it affects us all. So we all need to be concerned and we all need to be involved and care.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you kind of got involved and what kind of led up to your run for, Texas State House.
Yeah, no, I'm a lifelong resident of Montgomery County. So House District 15 is in the southern part of Montgomery County, which is actually a northern suburb of the Houston metro area. So we are a fairly conservative area, as you'll probably see by looking at the data. I started running because the incumbent has vacated his seat. He is now primary Dan Crenshaw, so his name's Steve Toth. And I was actually thinking about getting involved even before that. I've been a leader of the Libertarian Party for a number of years now, and my kids have now graduated high school. They're off to college, so it felt like the right time to try to make that transition from party office to public office. And frankly, I hadn't seen any leaders and any politicians that really felt like represented me in a long time. So I decided I was going to put myself out there and try to be the change.
Yeah. So, kind of like, Texas first, America first, like is kind of where you're coming from, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that resonates with a lot of different people and especially conservatives and stuff. That was one of the main reasons why a lot of us worked to get President Trump elected, because he was, that was basically what he was saying. And, in a lot of ways, things aren't perfect, but in a lot of ways, he fights harder for us than probably any presidential. You can gripe about President Trump or whatever, like, but he fights harder for Americans than any other president that I in my lifetime, I swear. And but the thing is like we need a team. We need a team at the state level. We need a team at the federal level. We need teams on all these different levels that are working for their districts. And a lot of times what we see is, people get sent to Congress, people get sent to State House, and within 6 months, they're basically working for their lobbyists and they're no longer working for their constituents.
Right.
That's a major frustration with everybody that I talk to, especially here in Georgia. But that's just like, it's just like, we just sent you there, you basically lied to us, and now we can't do anything because you're a 100-millionaire. Yeah. Because you can fund your own campaign. It's just ridiculous. Right. It's so frustrating to watch this happen over and over and over again. Which the original, I guess, one of the founding fathers of libertarianism that would kind of put it on the map for the rest of the world is Ron Paul. I think he's one of the main ones. And, and you can talk about like even internationally, like Javier Milei or whatever, like that way of thinking resonates with a lot of people, even, Republicans, even liberals, too, so to see some of that is, it's refreshing. And I think that it would complement the Texas State House to have some libertarians in there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, whether you consider yourself a libertarian or a constitutional conservative, I think there's a lot of common ground, and there's certainly room for that in Texas. We don't have a lot of constitutional conservatives in Texas. We have a handful, but they kind of live on their own little island, and they need allies. They need allies in there where there are people who are willing to come in and actually walk the talk when it comes to fiscal responsibility and limited government, because that's another reason that I decided to run for office, is that frankly, the Texas GOP seems to be moving in the other direction. And that's incredibly alarming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just not I mean, I don't know specifics about, like, I know some things about Texas, and I follow it quite closely, and
Mhm.
especially I'm connected with Ken Paxton's team because I've been a hardliner for him from the start. But like, I just the things that really concern a lot of people are these like the industry that moves in or whatever, the industries that are funding these people. The one of the biggest things that I'm seeing here in Georgia is the AI data centers, right?
Mhm.
I'm all for, like, being a leader in data and not falling behind China and stuff like that. But it seems like we're just like recklessly putting these things up, and you can almost look to the candidates, like the candidates that are winning are are being propped up by these different things. It's so frustrating. Because it's almost impossible to get these people out from a grassroots level when they get funded at these levels. I'm talking, they become literally like 50 100 millionaires like in a couple of years, and they can self-fund their campaign. So uh,
Right.
it's really, and it's even if you were like, even if you did win and you were principled, it's hard to compete against somebody who has millions of dollars
Yeah.
to put out flyers and stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
the crazy reality is, like, here in my district, Jim Kingston did this in my district. He's funded by Silicon Valley, and he doesn't resonate with conservatives. If you're talking about anybody around here, nobody really likes him. The problem is they put out millions of dollars, $1.5 million in advertising, and he absolutely demolished the competition because of these ads. People will literally get a flyer in the mail, and they will go out and vote for him because he's the only name they recognize, which is insane.
Yeah.
It's
I feel that.
absolutely
Like, I'm running
insane.
a campaign that is completely grassroots driven, individual donors. If you go and you look at my TEC reports, I do not have a single donation from a PAC or anything like that. It is truly a grassroots movement that I'm doing here in Texas with my campaign. So it's hard to compete against the machine. Like, I won't lie, but I'm proud of what we have built based on the grassroots effort that we've had from our supporters.
So we have a comment from somebody on YouTube. So the one thing that I want to hear from candidates who are running for Texas State House is how they're going to get rid of property tax in the state.
Oh man, that's a topic that's a top of stack for me. Yeah, we absolutely need to get Texas on a path to property tax elimination. My plan is around using our budget surplus. So January of last year, the beginning of the last legislative session, our then comptroller Hagar said that we had a $24 billion budget surplus. And that was a prime opportunity to use that budget surplus to put us on the path to property tax elimination. Because after all, if you have a budget surplus, that means that you have overtaxed your citizens. So the plan is to leverage what we call compression. You use that budget surplus to buy down school district M&O tax rates, because school districts are the biggest drivers of property taxes. Use that surplus to buy down the school district M&O tax rate and put us on a path to property tax elimination. But I will say that no plan to eliminate property taxes is complete without addressing spending. So we have a big spending problem in Texas. We have got to rein that in. Our GOP controlled House and or legislature overall is spending money like Democrats, frankly. So we've got to rein in spending as well. So to that point, what I would say is we need to impose local spending limits. So a lot of people don't know this just because it's kind of buried, but Texas at the state level has like 5 different spending caps, right? So I think there's like 4 constitutional, 1 statutory. Spending limits for localities, 0. There are no local spending limits right now. And as a libertarian who, normally favors a decentralized approach and, letting things, go from the bottom up, I feel like this is an instance where, as a state, if we're serious about ending property tax elimination, we're going to have to implement some legislation at the state level to prevent these local municipalities from spending like drunken sailors, because that we'll never get rid of property taxes unless we impose those limits.
Right. Well, I mean, it's good to hear that they had a surplus, which means that they didn't just blow that 24 billion. But to your point, is like they're overtaxing at the user level. So how do you get that back to them, which should have never been taken from them in the first place?
Exactly, using that surplus to buy down that tax rate, so that we can actually start reducing property taxes, putting us on that path to elimination, start putting money back into taxpayers' pockets. But yeah, it's definitely something that needs to happen. If not only just because it's taking the money out of people's pockets, but just from the principle of, you own your home, you own your property, you shouldn't have to pay rent to the government in perpetuity. Once you own something outright, you don't continue to rent it. True property ownership, and this is whether you're a home or business owner, means owning it outright and not having to pay rent to the state for the rest of your natural life. And this would have a downstream net benefit to renters as well. So it's not just ownership that gets a benefit out of this.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Once you own it, there should be no tax to anybody. It's your property.
Yep.
The one issue that I foresee, though, because I know how governments work, is then the people that are still paying off. So somebody buys a house outright or whatever. Let's say they got the money to do that. They're paying zero taxes now. The working American or whatever, like they're getting hit with this huge tax bill because they can't afford to buy the house outright. That's my only concern with that, is some kind of check on that, to where they didn't shoulder the load for everybody else that had paid their house off or whatever. But no, you're right. Once you own it, you shouldn't pay any taxes on that.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what Texas does is they have gotten into this habit of just doing a series of half measures. So homestead exemptions, or I'll give you an example. So this past November, we had a series of Texas constitutional amendments that were on the ballot. And I think we had like 6 property tax related measures on it. And one of them was to increase the homestead exemption for the elderly and the disabled, which on the surface sounds great, right? Like who's going to vote against giving help to the elderly and disabled? But the problem is that people don't understand that tax burden doesn't just go away. It's then shifted. That burden is shifted to other taxpayers. So whereas a lot of people may be fine with, shifting that tax burden, I think that it's not the way that we should be doing business in Texas. The state shouldn't be in the business of picking winners and losers.
Yeah.
And I think the homestead exemptions are just kind of milquetoast things to appease the populace without actually solving the real problem.
Right. So talk to me about like the state house and how a libertarian fits in there, and how you're going to work in and around them, because it's a conservative majority, right?
Oh yeah.
In theory, but we saw with in the past, I guess 2 years or whatever, like that doesn't mean a lot. It literally, like they were literally like, it was almost like controlled by Democrats, even though they were the minority. But the thing is like, you're in a heavily conservative district. They're going to want conservative things out of you. And so how do you move in and around being kind of a libertarian candidate, not exactly a Republican, not exactly a Democrat, but working to get your goals accomplished? Because I think a lot of the things that you are saying would resonate with a lot of people, so they'd want those things to happen.
Yeah, I mean, from a fiscal responsibility perspective, I feel like libertarians are every bit as strong, if not stronger, than Republicans. It's really just focusing on the economic aspect, which a lot of folks like to talk about the cultural and social issues of the day. Those are the hot topics. That's what's driving the headlines, and things like property taxes and spending and everything. Those are math. They're not as sexy, right? But that's really the things that impact people on a day-to-day basis. It's what drives the affordability. It's what drives how much money they have in their pockets. It's what drives their quality of life. And I don't think people put nearly as much attention on the economic issues as they should. And I think that if they really realized how much those things are driving things and how much it could have a positive downstream impact to social and cultural issues, I think they would pay a lot more attention to it. And that's why I'm trying to put it front and center in my campaign, not just because I live in a conservative district where I feel like that's going to resonate, but because I do truly believe that starting with those economic issues will domino effect in a positive way downstream to cultural issues of the day as well.
So we've seen a number shift on the border. You're in a border district. Has there been an improvement in terms of like the crossings, which we get just give us the lowdown on like what you're seeing in your district, because
I think you may have my district confused with U.S. Congressional District 15. I'm in Texas House District 15. I'm up in the Houston area.
Okay.
I'm actually not on the border.
So is Colony Ridge in your area?
Oh yeah, so Colony Ridge. So I live in Montgomery County, and just to the east of us is Liberty County, and that is where Colony Ridge is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, regardless, you're very close to the border. You're dealing with border issues. Tell us about, like, has there been an improvement? Have you seen much happen in terms of your district? Like, has there been any shift?
There really wasn't in Montgomery County, there really wasn't a problem to solve to begin with. Obviously, Colony Ridge being, pretty close to home was a big topic here locally. But in terms of just the, I guess the detentions or things like that, Montgomery County hasn't really seen a whole lot of that. I mean, obviously there's been some, sightings of immigration enforcement officers, at, local Home Depots or any things like that. But I guess being as far inland as we are, and in kind of again, a fairly affluent northern suburb in the Houston area, I guess I haven't seen any real measurable difference in a before or after where I live.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just wasn't sure because
That's a fair
thing
question.
is, yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I live in Georgia and I see ice in and around my area, and so there is actively things happening within my area, and the Hyundai Meta plant actually falls within my district, and they had a huge bust there, like maybe a year ago, maybe a little less than that. It made national news, but that was not actually a border thing. That was a South Korean visa overstay thing.
Got you.
I mean, we see it within our district, and a lot of voters want to see action on that because of what happened in the past, 4 years under President Biden. So that's why a friend of mine had asked me to ask you about that. But I just that's a big concern for a lot of voters too, along with the affordability issue, because it affects things like housing and stuff like that. And we're spending a lot of money on the benefits for these people, which shouldn't be receiving them at all. But they, in places like California, they definitely are. And their governor proudly touts that he does allows them to, and it's just crazy. But anyways, so we touched on the taxation thing. Affordability is another issue that concerns a lot of people, especially with when considering like foreign spending, these types of things. From the state level, how can you make a difference in terms of affordability for the average person?
Yeah. So let's not tax them into poverty. I will say that. So kind of going back to the property tax thing and how spending just kind of dovetails into that. It's a lot of people don't know that the Texas legislative budget has increased by 42% over the past 2 legislative cycles. 42%. And that's our new budget is $338 billion. And that's not counting our rainy day fund. And the only reason that we're still in the black from a budget perspective is because we've got that budget surplus, which is because our populace has been overtaxed. So it's not moving in the right direction. We've got to rein the legislature in. One of the things that was just most egregious in the last legislative session, we passed a bill to fund Hollywood filmmaking in Texas. Like these are the things that our GOP-led legislature passed. We're spending $1 billion to fund Hollywood in Texas. It's absolutely crazy to me. So again, just making sure that we're getting back to the basics. My goal as a representative would be to vote no on any bill that expanded government. No new agencies, no new bureaucracies, and really just start actually introducing legislation to repeal a bunch of regulatory fluff that we've built up over the past legislative sessions and rein that in. So again, we are not having to continue to overtax Texans to pay for what are nice to haves at best, if not unnecessaries.
Yeah, I mean, shouldn't they be paying you to come there? Like they want the aesthetic of Texas. That's why they're coming there. And why would you be paying them? They should be paying you to show up there and film on your land, basically. Like, that's just stupid. That's like the AI data centers in Georgia. It's made national news, but what they do is they exploit weak local governments. They find one that are unaware of what the consequences, the long-term consequences are. They move in, they flash some cash to them, and basically destroy an area. And the water, now that once they're operating, now you have to deal with it after the fact. And it's just that's why I try and raise awareness on it. There's put those things somewhere else. We don't need them in our backyard.
Yeah, it's a hot topic here in Texas too, particularly in the rural areas where Texas has been in drought conditions for a number of years, and so there's a lot of legitimate concerns about the potential drain on natural resources, whether it's water. Also, for anyone who has paid attention to weather news over the past few years, everybody knows that here on the Texas Gulf Coast, we get hurricanes every year. And so whenever, in some cases in places in Houston, if the wind blows too hard, our electricity goes out for 2 weeks. And that has a big strain on the ERCOT grid. So there's concerns about that too. But I will say that I do think that there's a little bit of fear mongering going on with the AI centers. And then I'll tell you why. Is because I know that there have been innovations over the past several years to reduce the amount of tapping into natural resources and electrical grid that have been done. What I oppose from a data center perspective is not the building of the data centers themselves. What I oppose is the cost being passed along to the taxpayers. So municipalities giving corporate incentives to these companies that are coming in and wanting to build data centers. They, like you said, go to the municipalities like, oh, we're going to bring all these jobs and everything. We need you to give us a tax break, no taxes for 10 years and everything. And we're going to bring so much, such an economic boon to your local area. No, I don't believe in corporate welfare either. If you want to come and you want to do business in my neighborhood, my district, you're not going to get any kind of incentives. You're going to pay for whatever infrastructure is going to be required to support your operations. That's not going to be passed along to my taxpayers. That's where what gets me about the AI data centers is that they're coming into these communities, and the cost for having the privilege to have them in the community is being passed along to the taxpayer, and that's for the birds.
Well, it's such a complicated. I don't want to go too hard into this because I want to focus on you, but it's
Sure.
such a complicated issue because the main issue is the water, right? So are they a closed loop system or not? Well, if they claim to be a closed loop system, well, then where do they get their power from? Generally, with the closed loop systems are drawing from the local power grid, which they are going to strain it beyond its capacity, and you're going to have issues there. So you have the water, you have the power issue. The other issue is the privacy issue that goes along with these. What are they doing with these things? Is it good? Is it good? Why would we suspect that it's only good that they're doing with these things, right? Are you like you? I'm not.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
I worked for the government for most of my adult life, and what I can tell you is I have some concerns with these things because they do things with your data that most people don't understand the complexity of it and how they use it and how they sell it and stuff like that. So you have these data centers where they're using your data, they're powering AI and stuff like that. And so are they going to be doing good things for the average person? Probably not. Let's not be naive here. They're going to use some of these things. They're going to invade your privacy even more with the expansion of this data. And so that's another concern. It's a very complex issue, but the other piece is we're not the only country that are developing these things. And so if we become deficient, it's a national defense issue. But I don't want to go too far.
No, you can do a cost benefit analysis on this one all day long. But I mean, I think the bottom line on top is that it's not if, it's when with these data centers, and we just need to make sure that we are being thoughtful, that we are protecting our communities, not only from a natural resource perspective, but from a tax perspective, and just implementing these things in a thoughtful way, because they are coming one way or the other.
You hit the nail on the head there, right there. We don't need 80-year-old and 90-year-olds voting on these things that they don't have any understanding on. We need people that actually understand exactly what the ramifications are and understand the technology and understand the long-term effect, because I think that's what happened, especially on the national level. Like we have these dinosaurs voting on these issues, and they don't understand and they don't care. They really don't care about the long-term impact. And so we need younger people that understand, people that have more skin in the game because they have kids, whatever. And so we don't destroy our country.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and I know I'm running for state house, obviously, but I mean, that's a huge part of why I decided to, get in the game, is because our country's like $39 trillion in debt now. I mean, this is a generational problem that people aren't talking about nearly enough. this isn't going to affect just our kids. This is going to affect our grandkids, our great grandkids. We have got to stop kicking the can down the road and just letting it be, you know, some other generation's problem. We have got to rein it in. We have got to take responsibility for the decisions that we're making right now, or affordability is not even going to be a possibility for future generations. Already, I think I became a homeowner for the first time when I was 24 years old. My kids are 21 now. Homeownership is not in the cards from them at 24 right now. The pricing is astronomical. Inflation is at a peak. We can do better, and we have got to get in there and start making some tough decisions and making ourselves maybe even a little bit uncomfortable if we're going to steer the Titanic away from the iceberg. Because, and I hate to be a negative Nelly, but that's where we're at, man. Like we are heading to bankruptcy as a nation. And while again, I'm not running for federal office, I believe that you can make more of an impact in your own community and closer to home. And that's why I wanted to run for Texas House.
Right. Well, I mean, that you can, you know, from, you know, whatever, from the user level to bill or whatever, it's a greater impact on your level that they can see. It's something huge that, you know, I went to an event in Idaho or whatever last year with some friends or whatever, and we were talking to some of their legislators, and my friend from Texas, Texas one, he's got a big account on here or whatever, but like he gave a good idea to their house leader, and he wrote up a bill that day based on the thing that he said. He was like, yeah, that's a really good idea. I'm gonna run it. And I think if people knew, you know, I guess how to reach people on that level, how to get involved, and how to, like, you know, people can bitch about just about anything. The people just bitch. They have no solutions or whatever. If you come with solutions or whatever, and your politician, you know, if it's something that's realistic, you know, that's a very real way where you could connect and make things happen for your district. A good example is like veterans issues. It's a bipartisan issue. Like if you have veterans issues within your area or something like that,
Absolutely.
you can bring those to your reps, your state reps, your even your federal reps, and it's something that you can make a change if you have a solution for them. A lot of times they just need the idea, they need a way to envision it, and they will jump on board with it. It's no cost to them. They can sign their name or whatever, and they'll co-sponsor these things. And so you know, I wish more people knew that, because they just need the ideas. A lot of them, like, you know, a lot of people want to do the good, and you know, they're just fed by lobbyists. That's the problem. The lobbyists are involved, and you know, if you had more regular people involved, given the ideas, I think we can make a lot more change.
Yeah. I want to go back to something that you said earlier when you were talking about the data centers. You were talking about surveillance. And that's another thing that I feel is a problem on the rise right now, too. And I was absolutely blown away. So I think I was on Facebook the other day, and there's a local, you know, Facebook group, just a community, just kind of random hodgepodge group. And they were talking about flock cameras. And they were talking about, well, you know, if you're not a criminal, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry about. And my jaw just dropped, because again, I live in a conservative community, right? And these folks were just like, well, I don't see what the problem is with flock cameras. And it absolutely blew me away. It's using these license plate readers to gather data on your whereabouts, where you've been, where you're going. I mean, they say that it's only available for law enforcement, maybe some HOA groups or things like that. But honestly, whoever is willing to pay is going to have access to the data. And I feel like these flock cameras are just a growing expansion of the mass surveillance state. And people don't seem to have a problem with it. And I'll give you an example right here in District 15. So they're a big part of House District 15 here in Texas is the Woodlands. So it's unincorporated. It's run by the Woodlands Township. And my opponent, his name's Brad Bailey. He's actually the chairman of the Woodlands Township. They recently voted in December to install 30 more flock cameras in the area. And it was going to be what, like $90,000 for the first year, and then like $100,000 for the next several years. I mean, just again, paid for by taxpayers, but nobody seems to bat an eye about where is this data going? Who's going to have access to it? How do I know that it's going to be used for, good purposes? Because the pendulum always swings. You never know who's in charge and, who's going to take advantage of having that data later on. So that's another thing that I feel like that needs to be talked about in my community more too, is just the growing mass surveillance in the area in the flock cameras.
Well, why would we have any reason to trust them with our data? You have people
exactly
the highest level with top secret access in the NSA that are, they busted them for sharing, photos of people that they were collecting as they were collecting this data. So why would we have any reason to trust them at any level in terms of data collection? You shouldn't. You shouldn't. Yeah. Like yeah. you should give them as little data as possible, because you cannot trust them within the corporate level, within the federal government, because they've proven themselves to be untrustworthy. They owe it to us to be trustworthy, and they have proven to not be trustworthy. So, and you have, they're tracking everything. If you stand too close to something within the grocery store, your cell phone sends a signal that you may be interested in this product, and to send you advertisements for that. I didn't agree to that. Why in the hell am I being surveilled for that? Like, maybe I'm just, I had to tie my shoe or something like that. Why am I being surveilled within the grocery store? That's crazy. But these are very real things that are happening on a regular basis. And the average person doesn't even realize it's happening. They're just oblivious to it. They don't realize it. That's, again, back to my original point. We need to have people that understand the things that they're voting on, because I think a lot of these dinosaurs in office do not.
I hear you. And I mean, it's heartbreaking, because again, going to the national level, I mean, you've got, Thomas Massey, talking about standing on an island. I mean, this man was, one of the few Republicans who was trying to, vote down, FISA 702 and the Patriot Act, and just this growing mass surveillance state that we've had ever since 9/11, and saying, hey guys, it's time to dial this back. But that's the problem, is that there's no dialing it back. Like, once you start getting into that government overreach, pulling that back is almost impossible. And that's why you gotta nip it at the bud on the front end. You can't let it happen. You can't say, oh, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about, because eventually you will have something to worry about. And by that point, it's too late. The precedent's already set there. You can't unmow that lawn.
Right. And that's the other piece too, is like most of, like, we'll just say the MAGA crowd or whatever, we were hardcore against these things. And for us to, for them to like say, whoa, we can just allow this or whatever, like we need this or whatever, it's national security. No, that we didn't agree to that. Like that's literally we were trying to get rid of that. Like we were literally against that. I literally became a Trump Force 47 captain because of stuff like that, to get rid of that. So that's a frustration of mine. You bring in another point too, is like, in terms of like drawing things back or whatever, or going back like on these things. Taxes are another thing. Like I had both of my sons are now voters. I have one that's 18, one that's 20. They're both voters. And one of the things that was on our ballot was the ESP lost, whatever. It's like a tax. It's like a very low tax, but they use it for like schools and stuff like that, and like local infrastructure or whatever. But the thing is like, how are they using that money? Well, are they using it well? No, they're not. We already know that they're not. There's been some issues with it. But once you have that tax, you're never getting it back. This is what I told my kids. I was like, you're never getting it back. Whether or not they need that money, they're going to find a way to spend that money now that they're drawing it in.
100%.
So it may seem like a small amount of money. And for you, it's probably insignificant. But the thing is they're just going to keep building on that. They're going to keep finding more ways to spend that money. And they're just going to keep taxing you more and more. And you don't need that. So you vote no because you don't want to open Pandora's box. So that basically exactly what you just said in terms of like drawing it back or whatever, like it's nearly impossible once they get it going.
Yep. It's built into the budget at that point. And they will, to your point, they will find a way to spend it.
All right. So this is from Kenneth here. The guy Jessi is running against helped deploy flock cameras in his city. To me, that immediately disqualifies him. I don't know anything.
Yeah, it's not a good look. That's for sure. Yeah, that's what I was saying. His name's Brad Bailey. So he's the GOP nominee for HD15, and he's the current chairman of the Woodlands Township. And when this vote for the flock cameras came up, he voted yes. So
tell us what flock cameras are and what do they do? What are they?
Yeah.
So what are they supposed to do, and what do they actually do?
Okay, so what they're advertised as is, all right, so let's say that there is a crime committed in the area, and maybe the perpetrators have fled the area. The way that they position flock cameras is that, if we can look at these license plates and capture these license plates, then we can go into our network of flock cameras, and then we can try to see like which direction they went in and try to see where they ended up. And to be fair, law enforcement has used these successfully in the past. But again, it's not just law enforcement, and they're not just using the data. This is mass surveillance of data on all people that's being put into these databases and accessed without our consent. Without us never having done anything, with us never having consented, number one, and then having data in God knows how many databases on our personal whereabouts, and kind of the way that we go about our lives without having done anything wrong.
Okay, so just for like, because I don't think that I have flock cameras in my area. So are these fixed? Are they on police cars? How do they employ these?
So they're throughout the neighborhood. You probably can't even see them. I think there's a website. Oh gosh, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I think it may be like deflock.com. But I think there's a website where you can actually go and see where flock cameras are in your neighborhood. That way you can go and talk to your local government and say that you want to get those removed and that you don't want to be surveilled. But yeah, I can't remember exactly the website. I'll follow up with you, but I think there is something like deflock.com or something like that. There's a big grassroots movement throughout the nation to get these things taken out of communities.
So basically, like they're touted as a crime prevention tool, but they're really like it's like 1984, like mass surveillance state, really.
Yes,
in real life.
Yes.
So yeah, that's concerning.
Happening in a neighborhood near you.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm not aware of any in my neighborhood. They do have like the up like in Savannah is like the north part of my district. I know they do have like the shot spotter
Mm-hmm.
stuff technology, which because there's a lot of gang crime up there, I know that actually is effective. But I'm not aware of anything like that outside of like the I guess the main like attractions up there. I'm not, but like down where I live, there's I don't think there's anything like that. My town's too small; they don't have stuff like that. But up there in Savannah, they probably do around some of like the tourist attractions and stuff like that. I would imagine they have some kind of surveillance, but I'm not sure if it's flocked though. But
Yep.
yeah, it kind of he said, yeah. No, yeah, I agree. There probably is something up there. Well, I live in a small town, so I don't have that stuff. I it's my town is it doesn't have that, but um the larger towns or whatever within my district, probably Brunswick, probably Savannah and stuff like that. They have yeah, no, they Savannah probably definitely does, and Brunswick too. Are within my district. They probably have them.
Yeah. I mean, and these are the types of things that are, quick up and down votes in city governments, and especially with folks not really paying attention to their local governments. Everybody's looking at the federal level, right? Nobody's looking at state and federal and local governments, and really paying attention to what they do. And that's why local government engagement is so important, because it is the things that are done right there in your city council that are most impactful on your life. And this is a prime example of one of those things where these things just get voted in and nobody's the wiser. They have no idea it's happening.
Right, for sure. That's again, we need younger people in Congress. We need younger people in state houses. We need younger people in the Senate. Like these people are they're orchestrating our demise, and we're just sitting here watching them do it.
Yeah.
It's quite frustrating. So it's refreshing to hear people that are willing to push back, that are running for office, that understand the concerns surrounding those. So yeah, I appreciate that 100%.
Sure.
So, talk to me about your campaign. Like, what events you got coming up? What have you been hearing from voters? Like, how has it been going for you?
No, it's been going all right. I actually just returned. I was in Grand Rapids, Michigan here over the last several days for the Libertarian National Convention. So that was a good time. So we have our national convention just like the Democratic Party and the Republican Party does. So we voted for our new, national chair and, vice chair. We voted on our national bylaws. Didn't actually get to a lot of our platform stuff just for time constraints and everything. But that was a really good experience. And I really enjoy doing that. Because I think a lot of candidates are they're politicians. They're career, candidates. They're not really involved in the inner workings of their respective political parties, and that's not the case for me at all. I was a delegate to the Texas State Convention, delegate to the National Convention, and I have been for several years running, because I want to have a voice in our party platform, in the inner workings and the leadership of my party. And even though I plan to govern in a completely nonpartisan way once I get to Austin, working across the aisle, I am a libertarian at heart, unabashedly so. And that was a really good experience, just to see, fellow liberty fighters and constitutional conservatives from all over the country just coalescing in the same place. It's invigorating to know that there's so many good people in the fight with you.
Yeah, I had the fortunate opportunity to talk with Larry Sharp, who's running for governor in New York. He's a libertarian candidate, and he's a fantastic speaker. And
He is.
his logic in terms of like why he is a viable candidate in New York is it's really spot on. And here's how he broke it down for us on there. He said, if you vote for Blakeman, you're going to get Kathy Hochul. You vote for Kathy Hochul, you're going to get Kathy Hochul. So if you like Kathy Hochul, vote for Bruce Blakeman or Kathy Hochul. It really doesn't matter. You're going to get her. But the thing is there's a ton of independent voters within New York. And if conservatives and moderate Democrats could get behind somebody like Larry Sharpe, who probably a lot of the stuff that he says resonates with them. He's a common sense type of guy or whatever. Like, right. He really offers a better solution to, just getting Kathy Hochul. It's really like a lot of, like, she doesn't, like, even within Democrats, she's not wildly popular. However, they toe the party line. But if conservatives, if some moderate Democrats that are kind of frustrated with Kathy Hochul or whatever could get behind somebody like Larry Sharpe, he offers such a better platform. He would make such a better governor than she would. And I don't know why people can't see that. Like, I wish somebody like Elon Musk would push him out there, because it's such a better scenario for New York and New York City to have Larry in there, because he would do such a better job than the current option, which is Kathy Hochul. So it's really like, I hope somebody big like that gets behind him, because he's the dude. Like, he honestly, like, he's the guy that should be the governor, honestly. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's a very similar situation here just in HD15. I mean, again, heavily conservative county. So it's kind of one of those things. You vote for Brad Bailey, you get Brad Bailey. You vote for Monica Scott, you get Brad Bailey. And that's one of the things that I'm telling people as I'm talking to folks in the community, because a lot of folks still get into that, wasted vote fallacy. They think that if you, vote for one person, you're taking a vote away from someone else and everything. And I always tell people, like, the only wasted vote is the vote that you made for a lesser evil, right? If you didn't vote your conscience, if you knew that there was a better candidate and you said, oh, well, I'm going to play it safe and vote for this other person who, I think is just mid, like, that's on you, man. Like, people have got to get out of that mindset. But to that point, that is the reason that voting for me in Montgomery County is such a good idea, because again, the Republican Party in the Montgomery County, they're kind of going through a schism right now, right? They've got different factions of groups with different ideas of how the party should go from a policy perspective. And if you're a Republican in Montgomery County and you feel, or a Democrat in Montgomery County, and you feel like your party is leaving you, like they're migrating to the polar ends of the extreme spectrum, in terms of like the left-right paradigm, then the best thing that you can do is to not reward them with more votes. So again, especially for the conservative voters in Montgomery County, if you don't like the way things are going, a vote for me, it's not just a protest vote. It's literally sending a signal to the Republican Party that I don't like the direction that you're going, and I want you to move back to more of a fiscal responsibility, limited government mindset, and stop playing your culture war games. That's what I want the conservatives in Montgomery County to do. Vote for me to get back to the economic basics and leave the culture war behind.
Yeah, I think the economic piece is going to resonate with a lot of conservatives too. It's just helping them to understand that, there are better options out there. And it's to be honest with you, the Democrat candidate has zero chance of winning. Zero chance. In your district, a plus 67 R district, with Texas just resoundingly voting conservative, she has zero chance in your district. So it's up to you and your Republican opponent that it's like those are the only two options I see within your district. And the fiscal conservatism is going to resonate with a lot of people. So if you talk to a lot of people within your district, I think that resonates with a lot of them. I know it does with me. I was most frustrated that we didn't get the Doge cuts within
Yeah.
within our budget. I was not happy with the big beautiful bill, anything that happened, and Elon Musk was especially frustrated with that too, because he basically put his life on hold to make that happen, and a lot of it didn't come to fruition. So that's a huge frustration for me, and I know that a lot of people probably within your district probably feel the same way. So they would like to see that at the state level also.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. So we do have a Texas Doge, right? It's TREO. It's Texas Regulatory Efficiency Office. So Texas is trying to kind of implement a Doge like structure, and I believe they have just released their preliminary report. And it's the same thing. It's like, here's everything that we found, right? But I think I'm kind of looking at it the same way as I initially looked at Doge, is that I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping that something is actually done with it and it's not just performative, right? Because that's what Doge felt like. It's like they did all this stuff and then nothing happened. Congress didn't codify any of it.
Right.
Any of it. They just, went and, thumped their chest, to the press about it, and then nothing.
Right.
And I felt like that was a huge betrayal to, Elon Musk and the folks that it's part of Doge who worked tirelessly on it, but a betrayal to the American people. You find cuts like that, you make them. You don't just sit on them.
Right. No, absolutely. And especially with the USAID, they found all these different things where it was really fraudulent. Like they were sending whatever, it was like they were buying condoms in like African countries and stuff like that. And it was like, why are we doing that? Like what why are we on the hook for these things or whatever? And they still refunded it. They just continued the funding lines. Now granted, they may have stopped the funding to these specific things, but they continued the fund. Like why can't we just cut it out? Why
Omnibus bills, that's why.
it would be such a win.
It's a line in a 1,500 page bill. It's
yeah, I don't know even like hardcore Democrats that would be against cutting some of these ridiculous funding things. Like I just don't. It would be such an American win for whoever was involved. Like I don't know why you wouldn't want to be a part of that. And just it's frustrating. So yeah, we have to pass it to know what's in it. Yeah, the Nancy it's so frustrating to watch from the user level that it's ridiculous. So well, I've kept you here for an hour. My co-host didn't show up too. But I wanted to give you a chance to highlight any events that you've got coming up, what you've got going on, anything that you want to promote. Let's hear it from you.
Yeah, so I am definitely planning to do a 4th of July parade here in my hometown of Oak Ridge North. So more information coming on that soon. Also, really planning to do just some basic grassroots things. I'm going to hit some farmers markets. I'm just going to get out there and talk to people, hear what's on their minds, hear what the issues are that are important to them. So as I have a little bit more on that, I will share the information out on my website and on my socials. So definitely keep an eye out for that. So my website is www.jessi, I'm sorry, www.cowartfortexas.com. So COWARTFORTEXAS, cowartfortexas.com. And you can find me on Facebook, X, and Instagram as well. It's been kind of a busy time here in Texas. So we had a primary, and then a special election, and then a municipal election, and then a primary runoff. So I want to just tell folks, I know that you've probably got election fatigue right now, but we've got some space before the next election in November. So take a break, take a breather. If you see me out at a farmer's market or just out in the community, don't be shy. Come up to me, say hello. I love to talk to anyone at any time. But I'll definitely be out and about in the community now that we're on the other side of all of these elections and the convention season for the Libertarian Party.
Yeah, well, what I've come to find too is a lot of people didn't really understand what a primary election was. So that's like, I know what they are. I've been involved for many years. I've been a precinct chair. I've been a poll manager. And so I understood, but what I've come to realize in this past election is many people didn't understand what a primary election was. They would show up to the poll and they were like, I don't know what I'm doing here. They really didn't understand that. And for a libertarian candidate who wouldn't have been on the ballot, helping them to understand some of that is I wouldn't take offense to that, because a lot of them didn't understand. And I think them learning about it is actually beneficial to the process. So, I could see that within your district, especially because, it's a lot of the things that you're going to say is going to resonate with them. And so they're going to appreciate you for that. And they're going to understand the process a little bit more when you educate them.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
That is the plan.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on here tonight. I think I first found you on Instagram, and then I found you on your other socials, and I reached out because I wanted to have you on here. Huge Ron Paul Libertarian fan. He comes from your area. And so I just wanted to hear from you and to help elevate you. And I just appreciate you coming on, because I think you're very knowledgeable about these subjects, and I think you have some value to add to your Texas house.
I appreciate it, man. Likewise, I really enjoyed this, and I appreciate you having me on.
Yep. So, all right. Well, thank you for coming on, and find her on X, find her on Instagram, find her on Facebook. And you're not on TikTok?
No, I'm not on TikTok. Not right now. Not yet anyway.
I know a lot of candidates are like, I push them to TikTok because TikTok is one of my bigger accounts too. I push them there. I know they don't like it because of the issues with China and stuff like that, but I try to tell them to go there because there's a huge audience there also. So don't be afraid to go to TikTok. You don't have to duplicate efforts. You can post the same thing you post on your Instagram, but don't be afraid of that one, because I'm there too. So yeah, for sure. Thank you, Candace, and thank you, Jessi, for coming on here tonight. Have a good night, and we will close it down. So
sounds good. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. There you have it. Jessi Cowart, Texas, Texas State House, District 15. Fantastic person. Really, really well-spoken, and I think she offers a lot to the Texas State House. I think we need to look at some of these candidates. I gave the example of Larry Sharp. I think, thinking smarter, thinking, about people that are gonna, maybe aren't the typical candidates that you would, vote down the party line or whatever. Like, I think they can complement the things that we're trying to do. And I think, as conservative, I'm a conservative. Most of my followers are conservative. I think we have a lot to gain by looking at some of these candidates. So that's why I appreciate, her coming on here. I appreciate you guys following, watching, having the conversation with us tonight, and checking us out. Thank you for joining here tonight, and I appreciate you guys. And without further ado, I'll close it down. Thank you.